For a long time, I was moved by the way people stood out doing something that they were really good at. Whether it was singing, dancing, playing basketball, whatever it was, I noticed that it wasn't just their eyes but also their body expressions. Everything in them became that one thing. Then I knew this must be their passion. I thought deeper about this. What is passion? Is it a calling? And how do we find it? Could it be a hobby or something more? Something we are born with? How does passion impact our daily lives, our choices, and what makes us who we are?
Passion to me is having a deep love for something.
Intrinsically linked to love.
It is something that you have to do, that it isn't required to survive, and yet it feels like it is.
It's really close to obsession.
It is something that is inside of you that wants to get out, makes you gravitate towards a certain activity, a certain interest.
It's almost like sort of vocational in a sense, like it's not like you've chose to do that, you just feel that you want to do that and you do it regardless.
It's just who I am.
I have a passion. My passion is music.
What is it about music that makes you feel passionate, that makes you want to do it?
In music there can be messages. Some of them are subject to interpretation, so you, the listener, are the one who sort of reads what you want from it or gets what you want from the music. And I think each person can have a different sort of connection even to the same song. Emotion can kind of be overpowering sometimes or just overwhelming, and that's just something that's, I think, true of all different types of music, and it's something that connects everyone with music. It's not something you can touch, or it's something that you can feel, but only within.
Did you always know music was your passion, or did you find it gradually as you grew up?
I was brought up around a lot of kind of rock music and popular music as well, and my dad played the guitar, and one of his friends was in a band and he was like really good on the guitar, but he would never let us near his guitar, and I think that made me really hungry to figure out why it does the things it does.
And then you started experimenting the guitar.
Yeah, sometimes I would go and play it when he didn't know in his bedroom, and just hit the open strings and try and make a little tune out of the open strings. And eventually he taught me how to play, and then I pursued that ever since.
How did that make you feel, playing the guitar?
I felt more connected to the music that I was hearing because I could play the music. I started to learn how to play the music that I was listening to, and when I realised how easy it was to recreate a tune, even just basically, I realised that I too can have the power to channel music and sort of offer that to other people, or even just for myself really. That's where it started, just to do it for myself. I like to be involved with other musicians a lot as well, and I think that it's probably one of my strengths, is to try and bring something to others as well.
Do you think passion helps to find or understand oneself?
Absolutely, I think that it can be a defining factor of your actual identity, what you're passionate about. It's what makes you get out of bed and it's what makes you tick sometimes, like just, gives you the energy you need.
What did music make you realize about yourself?
It's very self-empowering. Through the hardest times in life, that seems to be when I gravitate towards just simply playing my guitar and coming up with a new tune that kind of fits with how I feel, and that helps me to understand how I feel a little bit better sometimes as well.
Passion has been described as something that feels like an addiction, and if someone told you to stop, it would be impossible for you to give it up. It's part of someone's purpose, their calling in life, and without it, something's missing.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, upon whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of this world forever, it seems.
My passion is acting. It's hard to really explain why. It's just from a young age, I always knew that I wanted to do it. I couldn't put it down to a certain event. I know some people are like, oh, I saw this film and that's what made me want to do it. But I honestly it was, as long as I can remember, I always just wanted to act, and it was just something I really wanted to do. And how I feel when I'm doing it is probably the most comfortable and the most confident I feel in life. And that just makes me keep wanting to do it, and I just love doing it.
Do you think that's helped you understand better who you are?
It's, as I say, it's given me a lot of confidence. That confidence relates to other things. But also, the world of theatre is a very accepting world, because you are putting on these stories of other people, and a lot of it's to try and educate and make people empathise with other people and their stories. I mean, some of it's just for fun, but by playing someone else and just taking on those roles and understanding their motivations, you do get a better understanding of how people work and how the world works, which I think makes often people who are involved in that world more empathetic and more accepting.
What kind of plays have you been involved in?
Well, last year, towards the end of the year, I did Macbeth with the Uni Society, and I was Lady Macbeth, so that was an interesting role. Not one I felt a great connection to, but it was really fun to play.
Your face, my thane, is as a book where memory reads strange matters. To beguile the time, look like the time. Bear welcome in your eyes, your hands, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it.
I study English as well, so I really like Shakespeare. I think that's, however you feel about it, it's the founding of, modern theatre. So it was really interesting to be able to do a full-scale production of that and learn how to do that, because it presents its own challenges. And then another kind of weird role was when I did my drama A-level for our end performance, I was Margaret Thatcher, which, given that I'm from the northeast, was an unusual experience. But that was a really challenging role, actually, because it meant I had to do a lot of research, because she's a very recognisable person. Her voice, her mannerisms are all things that, people pick up on.
Mr. Chairman, many times throughout our history, the Conservative Party has spoken for Britain. At this conference, we have done so again, and never has the need been greater. We meet today as free people in a free country, but every one of us here senses the shadow that has fallen across this freedom since we last met.
I won the drama award in sixth form. I'll show you if you want. I've got it up here. The school was very formal. They gave us a paperweight. There you go. I also got, in first year, I got an award for doing well in drama. It was called the First Year Prize. So it was kind of like, it was more so for my academic work, but that's what I mean, like, I think, you know, theatre sort of is all, like, parts of it is in my life. Like, I enjoy studying it, I enjoy performing in it, I enjoy watching it. So it's all relevant stuff. Ooh. So yeah, there's my certificate to prove that I got it. Being rewarded for the work you put in. Like, I don't put the work in to be rewarded, I put it in because I enjoy doing it. I think that's the difference between a passion and something else. You're not doing it for any reason other than to do it because you love it and you enjoy doing it.
Some go as far as labeling passion as the essence of commitment. Passion is that which deeply stirs us, what truly motivates us. When passion is missing, our actions lack meaning and we don't get the results we want. Passion is the seed from which commitment blossoms.
I think I was about 8 years old. I'd had like piano lessons and violin lessons, and I just didn't really click, and I knew, I don't know how, but I kind of knew that I wanted to play the harp. I think like my dad first introduced me to the harp with a band called Clannad, and they're like a folky band, and yeah, they had a harp in it. And even when I listen to that recording, I can hear why I loved it so much. And yeah, I just nagged my mum for like a year for lessons. She managed to find them because she's a trooper, and yeah, that was it for me.
How does playing the harp make you feel?
Everything. There isn't like one feeling. Some days, like for example last night, I'd had like quite an emotional day at work and I felt quite drained. So I came in and I just didn't really want to play, but I knew that I had to practice. Like, I know I need to practice every day to keep on top and make sure I get things learned, and I sat and practiced, and then after that I was totally fine. Like, it totally changed my mood. I don't know, sometimes if I'm sad, like I'll go and play some sad songs and I'll feel a bit better about it. I don't know, it's like a nice little way to filter emotions.
What is it about the harp that distinguishes it from any other instrument?
So the harp's pretty special. Like, the main thing about the harp is that actually it regulates the heartbeat. So I figured that out when I was researching when I went into hospitals. So there's a lot of research done on the fact that like it actually brings it down if it's too high or brings it up if it's too slow. So I think that's pretty special and unique.
What kind of impact has the harp had in your life and in yourself?
In myself, so many different things. A lot of it's confidence. I think naturally I'm quite introverted. So I guess it's made me go out there and do experiences and take part in things that I otherwise would have shied away from. And it's kind of like a good talking point and nice tool. I guess it's impacted my whole life in the sense that because I started so young, like what is your life without it? And I can't imagine where I would be. I've done classical my whole life, and then I went to music college, which was 4 years of lots of classical. And then I came out and I was like, I actually want to experiment, explore. Like in November I went on tour with like Gary Newman, and we did loads of like really, well, we just arranged all this music to play with a rock band, which was amazing. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. I realised really that's where I want to be. I think at music college I found everyone was very critical about like, oh, you played that note wrong, or you didn't quite get that fortissimo there, and I'd be like, well, I don't know, I was performing, like I was doing my thing, like I don't really care if I got a note wrong, like I was just playing and I was enjoying playing, and to me that's the most important thing. I know with playing the harp, like there's sometimes when I really don't like being a musician because it's really hard work, and mixing it with work and seeing family and friends, it does take a lot of time, but I guess because I do feel so strongly for it, like it keeps me going, and then I do something great and then I'll be like, oh wow, this is why I do it, which is really cool. But yeah, I think passion's like a deep longing for something.
Passion can have two sides. In line with the etymology of the word passion, from the Latin passio, for suffering, passion is seen as experiencing a kind of suffering as if one were a slave to their passion, because it would come to control them. A more positive view is that of French philosopher Descartes, who sees passions as strong emotions with inherent behavioral tendencies that can be positive as long as reason underlies the behavior.
My passion is storytelling, listening to stories, watching stories, writing stories, communicating stories. Story. Why, I don't know. It's always been there. It's been there, according to my family, since I was tiny, since I was, able to talk. And it's just who I am. And I would have been 3, I guess. And this would have been 1975. So color TV was very definitely a thing. And that's what we had. But I think we must have been getting the house or the apartment packed up to move. And for whatever reason, the regular TV was not, I guess it was the day that they were taking stuff out, so to keep me sort of entertained, they plopped me down with a TV, but it was like an old TV. I don't know where it came from. I'd never seen it before, but it was a black and white television. And I was watching an episode of I Love Lucy, which was an old 50s sitcom, so in black and white, on this black and white television. I can remember at 3 years old, watching it and enjoying the show, but also thinking how cool it was to watch a black and white show on a black and white television, as if that were somehow more authentic. And so there was always more to the story, there was always more about it. And if ever somebody told me about, oh, that's an old, like with that, oh, that's an old TV show from, like my parents would have said, from when I was little, I wanted to hear about that. I wanted to hear what they had thought of it then, what other people had thought about it, when they watched it, how they watched it. Even as a little child, I wanted to know the context. I wanted to know more. And I wouldn't have understood it that way. I would have just seen it as curiosity. And that's, I'm sure, how they would have seen it, as just curiosity. But clearly that need to know in order to be able to store that away for my own stories was there. I loved to hear stories particularly from my grandmother, about her own childhood. And was always, tell me about when you were little, tell me about when you were little.
Is it something that, would you say, fulfills you personally?
No. It should. But because there's always that need to do it, that while you're doing it, yeah, sure, it's fulfilling, but as soon as I'm not doing it, all I can think of is that I ought to be doing it. And so there's this constant tension of, why aren't I writing? Why aren't I reading? Why aren't, no matter what I'm doing, I could be doing it in some other way. And it's only in the moment that it's fulfilling.
How does it make you feel when you do it? When you're telling stories?
I don't know that I feel anything because it's not me. I know that sounds weird, but it's like I detach from myself. Telling story, whether I'm speaking it, whether I'm reading to someone, whether I'm writing a story, I'm out of my own body. I'm in someone else's mind. I'm in someone else's place. I'm channeling something else. This is gonna sound insane. I feel like I'm here. Almost sort of off to one side and slightly behind myself. I lose awareness of my body. I mean, the most extreme example of it is actually while I was working on a chapter from my second book, Handsome Heroes and Vile Villains. And it was a section I was writing on the Seven Dwarfs, actually. And in one day, I wrote around 14,500 words. And I didn't get up out of the chair I was sitting in for 5 or 6 hours. It was all about this consciousness that was here and what was coming out of my fingers.
Would you say it could be something spiritual?
Yes.
Does it feel like that?
Absolutely.
What would life be without passion?
Very unenjoyable.
Life would be a lot less colourful and difficult.
I think my life would be really different, and I'm not sure that I'd be like overly happy.
Even if I were abandoned on an island somewhere, or cut off from all contact in any form with everyone in the world, and it were literally just me, I'd still be making up stories.
Connection, reward, happiness, and spirituality are all different ways in which Ian, Ellie, Stephanie, and Amy experience passion when doing something that they love. Whether it's playing the guitar, acting, playing the harp, or telling stories. Scientists and psychologists have found that practicing our passion brings energy to our bodies, adds happiness to our lives, and boosts confidence in ourselves. Passion can also be stressful and hard work. But in spite of that, we find our way back to it over and over again, as if something's constantly pulling us back to it because we need to do it. Perhaps the positives of practicing our passion outweighs the negatives. We pursue passion, or maybe passion pursues us. Either way, it is clear, life wouldn't be the same without it.
My biggest passion of all I have is nature, because I feel like you can trust it in a way that you never know what it holds for you. A little piece of weed that grows through the concrete, it's life that breaks through everything. It's so powerful. And then also, of course, if you have an amazing view, it's huge. It's just breathtaking, and you can feel everyone is just in awe. Even people who wouldn't say nature is their passion, they become one with nature right away.
What would you say life would be without nature for you?
Depressing.
I have a lot of passions. For example, film. It makes me feel like if I can escape the world for an hour or so. It helps me to empathize with others. Eternal Sunshine teaches me to how cope with grief and appreciate the good times that a certain someone leave behind.
What would life be without passion?
Less opportunities to inspire people.
Yeah.